Chapter 13, Sir Isaac Newton.
One Isaac Newton was born on Christmas Day in 1642 in the small village of Woolsthorpe in England. Little did his mother know what he would grow to achieve. Little did she know that he was destined to explain many matters which had been a mystery since the beginning of time. Isaac was left in the care of his grandmother from the time he was a small baby. She was very kind to him and sent him to school. Even when he was very young, Isaac was very skilled in mechanics. He had a set of little tools and saws of various sizes that he had fashioned by himself. With the help of these, Isaac tried to make many curious objects. The neighbors looked at the wondrous things which Isaac manufactured with great admiration, and his old grandmother was never weary of talking about his grandson. "He will make a capital workman one of these days," she would say. "No fear but what Isaac will do well in the world." It is amusing to conjecture what anticipations his grandmother and others formed about the things he might make in later life. Some of them, perhaps, thought he would make beautiful furniture and sell it to rich people. Others thought that young Isaac would become an architect and would build splendid mansions and churches too, with the tallest steeples that had ever been seen in England. Some of his friends, no doubt, advised Isaac's grandmother to send him for training to a clockmaker, because besides his mechanical skill, the boy seemed to have taste for mathematics, which would be very useful to him in clockmaking. Indeed, there was every reason to believe that Isaac would become a clock manufacturer. He had made the kind of clock that nobody had ever heard of before. It was set to work not by wheels and weights like other clocks, but by the dropping of water. This was an object of great wonder to all the people in Woolsthorpe. Besides the water clock, Isaac made a sundial. Now, his grandmother was never at a loss to know the time. The water clock would tell the time in the shade, and the sundial in the sunshine. Isaac had a wonderful ability to acquire knowledge. For instance, what method do you think he used to find out the strength of the wind? You will never guess how the boy would make that unseen, inconstant, and ungovernable wonder, the wind, to tell him the measure of its strength. Yet, nothing can be simpler than this. He jumped against the wind, and by the length of his jump, he would calculate the force of a gentle breeze, a brisk gale, or a tempest. Thus, even in his boyish sports, he was continually searching out the secrets of nature. Not far from his grandmother's residence was a windmill which operated on a new plan. Isaac was in the habit of going there frequently and spending hours in examining its various parts. While the mill was at rest, he examined its internal machinery. When its broad sails were set in the motion by the wind, he watched the process by which the mill stones were made to revolve and crush the grain that was put into the hopper. His sharp mind grasped every detail as he watched it. After gaining a thorough knowledge of its construction, Isaac constructed a model of the windmill. It was not very large, yet every part of the mill and its machinery was complete. Its little sails were neatly made of linen and whirled round very swiftly when there was wind. Even a puff of wind from Isaac's mouth was enough to set the sails in motion. It was most curious If a handful of wheat was put into the little hopper, it would soon be converted into snow-white flour. Isaac's playmates were enchanted with his new windmill. They thought that nothing so pretty and wonderful had ever been seen in the whole world. As Isaac grew older, it was found that he had far more important matters on his mind than the manufacture of toys like the little windmill. All day long, if left to himself, he was either absorbed in thought or engaged in some book of mathematics or natural philosophy. At night, he looked up with great curiosity at the stars and wondered whether they were worlds like our own, how great their distance was from the earth, and what power kept them in their courses. Isaac's curiosity led to many discoveries. He was the first to find out the nature of light. Until then, nobody had been able to tell what sunshine was composed of. Then there was the famous incident of an apple falling from a tree on his head, which prompted him to discover the force of gravitation. Once he got hold of this idea, he did not rest until he had searched out all the laws by which the planets are guided through the sky. This he did as thoroughly as if he had gone up among the stars and tracked them in their orbits. As a boy, Isaac had discovered the mechanism of a windmill. As a man, he explained to his fellow human beings the complex mechanism of universe. Newton lived to be a very old man and acquired great fame. He was a member of parliament and received the honor of knighthood from the king. But he cared little for these and felt no pride in the vastness of his knowledge. All that he had learned only made him feel how little he knew in comparison to what remained to be known. I seemed to myself like a child, he would often say, playing on the seashore and picking up here and there a curious shell or a pretty pebble, while the boundless ocean of truth lies undiscovered before me. An extract from the true stories of history.